Gyananjana Salakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manopishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupa Kadamahim Yadadi Sapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yudhapadakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahana Reghunathanidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaidam Savadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahana Lilita Sri Vishakhanudamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sudhe Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarupya Kripa Sindhupya Vaja Patitana Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Guru Namne Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Guru Srimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namne Namaste Saraswate Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachatya Sriti Tarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bangam Langhaite Giri Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Sri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Mishwaram. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiret. Susrusho Sratadhanasya Vasudeva Katharuchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevanat Sranudam Sakatha Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtanaha Hridyandasto hi abhadrani vidunoti sukritsatam Nashtaprayesha abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama sloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki Tada rajas tamo bhava kamalo bhavesjaye Chedayate ranaviddham sthitam sattve prasidhati Evam prasanna manaso bhagavat bhakti yogadaha Bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate Vidyate hrude grande sthityande sarva samsya Chiyande jasya karmani drishtaye padmanishware Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanacha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namo Nama Pankaja Napaya Nama Pankaja Maline Nama Pankaja Netraya Namaste Pankajangri. Hare Krishna. So today we are speaking from Bhagavatam Canto 2 Chapter 1 Text 15 and I will share the screen. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 1:15. Yes. Okay, share. Okay. So let's read the verse first. Antakale tu purusha gata sattvasaha Chindyad asanga shastrena spraham dehenu yechatam Andagale tu purusha agate gata satvasa Chindyad asanga shastrena spraham dehenu yechatam. The word to word meanings Andagale, at the last stage of life. Tu, but Purusha, a person, Agate, having arrived, Gata Satvasa, without any fear of death. Chindyat, must cut off, Asanga, non-attachment, Shastrana, by the weapon of Spraha, all desires, Dehe, in the matter of the material tabernacle, Anu, pertaining, Ye, all that, Cha, also, Tam, them. So, translation, at the last stage of one's life, one should be bold enough not to be afraid of death, but one must cut off all attachment to the material body and everything pertaining to it, and this all desires thereof. We have kind of a long purport. So while reading the purport, I will stop in between to go into a little bit details, so that by the time we navigate through the entire text, we'll be done with the class also. Okay, the purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The foolishness of gross materialism is that people think of making a permanent settlement in this world, although it is a settled fact that one has to give up everything here that has been created by valuable human energy. Great statesmen, scientists, philosophers, etc., who are foolish without any information of the spirit soul, think that this life of a few years is all in all, and there is nothing more after death. This poor fund of knowledge, even in the so-called learned circles of the world, is killing the vitality of human energy. And the awful result is being keenly felt. And yet the foolish materialistic men do not care about what is going to happen in the next life. The preliminary instruction in the Bhagavad Gita is that one should know that the identity of the individual living entity is not lost even after the end of this present body, which is nothing but an outward dress only. As one changes an old garment, so the individual living being also changes his body. And this change of body is called death. So here Srila Prabhupada is talking about how the modern civilization is completely materialistic minded and does not perceive the active principle of the soul. And people tend to take this life and that's it. I have to achieve everything and possible. But this life is only a dot on a long line. Like Pratibhahu Prabhu was saying in his class, I like that one. That is, this life is only one dot in a straight line. Because after this life comes the next dot. That is, we are moving on to another body and then continuing our existence. So people have pushed away this active principle of the soul, and they are struggling, caught up in the struggle for existence and competition to achieve all that is possible materially in this life. So whereas the Bhagavad Gita gives the most elementary education that this body is like a dress only. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya narani grahnati naroparani. Tatha sharirani jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. That is just like when our clothes become worn out, we throw them away and grab a new dress. Similarly, when this body is worn out, the machine of the body is worn out, then it accepts, the soul accepts another garment, another new body. So also we have dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara dehantara praptis dhiras tatra inna muhyati. So all these changes that we observe, that is when the child comes into existence, it has a small, little body, from then childhood to boyhood to adult to old age. The material body undergoes these changes, but the soul is fixed. It does not undergo any of the changes that is applicable to the gross body. So these are the fundamental teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. So, and the sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So this verse is teaching us how to be prepared for death and be unafraid of such a change. How to develop detachment from everything that is in relation to this body, that we think of ourselves as being a father, mother, child, friend, all these designations, and all our I, me, mine thoughts, my friends, my relatives, everything. So how can such an attached person be ready for something so drastic, that is the loss of the body itself? So we'll move on from here. So death is therefore a process of changing the body at the end of the duration of the present life. An intelligent person must be prepared for this and must to try to have the best type of body in the next life. The best type of body is a spiritual body, which is obtained by those who go back to the kingdom of God or enter the realm of Brahman. In the second chapter of this canto, this matter will be broadly discussed. But as far as the change of body is concerned, one must prepare now for the next life. Foolish people attach more importance to the present temporary life, and thus the foolish leaders make appeals to the body and the bodily relations. The bodily relations extend not only to this body, but also to the family members, wives, children, society, country, and so many other things which end at the end of life. After death, one forgets everything about the present bodily relations. We have a little experience of this at night when we go to sleep. So, Srila Prabhupada is saying in this one, that is how to go beyond this physical body, which lasts only for a certain period of time. That is, we have so how to build our knowledge. I mean, our psyche, how to prepare our mind for the eternal life, and that is an eternal life in the kingdom of God. How to get that best next body. Best next body is the spiritual body, in which we can go back to our permanent home in the land of Krishna. So, and in the previous speakers on chapter 2 have already covered the very important teachings that Srila Sukadeva Goswami has already imparted. That is constant hearing and chanting of the holy names of the Lord, and hearing this Bhagavatam itself. those are the two means by which we can advance there towards obtaining a spiritual body in the next life. Hearing and chanting, those are the most important processes that we have been cultivating in Krishna conscious life. So therefore, thus the foolish leaders make appeals to the. So in the those who are materialistically inclined, they always have their attachments first. That is, this is my body and my wife, children, family, my friends and relatives, then my society, my country, like that it goes. So this material world is full of this competition and envy, and we have seen how the nations are prepared to go to war even at the slightest provocation, because and they are always challenging each other's leadership in technology, in economic development, everything. They are not willing to share the resources of this great earth and make everybody's life comfortable. Instead of that, wealth accumulates and men decay. So they have the very most selfish thoughts at the leaders of the nations have. We have seen examples how people cannot collaborate even to keep the government going. Last January, we experienced this. They do not allow. They cannot allow for the change of government peacefully. They are attacking the capital. This opposite party. So this is the influence of the age of Kali, when everybody is at everybody else's throat, a cutthroat mentality, and I mean mine should succeed. My personal influence and my clout and my agenda should win. No, nothing else is important. That kind of strict, very bad competition spirit and the enviousness. That is what is leading our world into some kind of catastrophic, atmosphere. So, and on top of it, we have had the experience of the pandemic, which revealed how, in spite of our technological advancement, everything, how many millions of lives have been lost, and how any time we can lose our life itself. So, but nothing makes people more spiritually advanced. They only want to, they become bitter at the thought of the temporariness of life and its miseries. They become bitter and revolt against society itself. So the bodily relations extend not only to this body but also to the family that we have covered. So therefore, one has to, in order to develop another term of bodily engagement, which we are awarded by the law of nature according to our aspiration. Therefore, one has only to change the aspiration during the course of this present body. And for this, there is need of training in the current duration of human life. This training can be begun at any stage of life, or even a few seconds before death. But the usual procedure is for one to get the training from very early life, from the stage of Brahmacharya, and gradually progress to the Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa orders of life. The institution which gives such training is called Varnashrama Dharma, or the system of Sanatana Dharma, the best procedure for making the human life perfect. One is therefore required to give up the attachment to family or social or political life just at the age of 50 years, if not earlier. And the training in the Vanaprastha and Sannyasi ashramas is given for preparation for the next life. Foolish materialists in the garb of leaders of the people in general stick to family affairs without attempting to cut off relations with them, and thus they become victims of nature's law and get gross bodies again according to their work. Such foolish leaders may have some respect from the people at the end of life, but that does not mean that such leaders will be immune to the natural laws under which everyone is tightly bound by the hands and feet. So, Srila Prabhupada is saying how everybody in the modern system of education, we have no training of being of spiritual nature, and even the leaders are lacking any kind of spiritual education. So at the end of life, they think they may get some reputation, some following, everything. That is what drives them forward. But then end of life, they have to they have to accept death as a reality, and they will be awarded a material body just according to the laws of nature. But the teaching of the scriptures is to avoid this most foolish mentality, and to be prepared for the end of life, that to face death itself. So we know Bhagavatam teaches detachment from a very young age. We have seen so many young child devotees. We have read in the first canto, Rishi Narada Rishi's great advancement at the age of 5. How he left after his mother's death all by himself, because he was in touch with the Bhakti Vedantis, and they blessed the child because they found that he is very inquisitive. So they blessed him with the knowledge how to contact the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so he straight took to his foot and went to the north, and he, by his meditation technique, he was able to perceive the personality of Godhead and receive instruction from him. And he himself narrates to Vyasadeva how he started ecstatically chanting the glories of the Lord constantly against all social norms. And then the Lord comes in, the Lord is seated in his heart, hast thou called for. Such is the nature of spiritual life, spiritual ecstasy. So then there is a Prahlad Maharaj's teachings. Prahlad, at the age of 5, he is not afraid of his father's terrorist activities towards him, because he is practicing bhakti yogi. So he simply stays in the palace. Whatever my father may do to me, that's all right. I am under the protection of the Lord. Such fearlessness in a 5-year-old. And we know the story, how many days he was tortured by his father. And in the end, he proved the existence of the Lord in every, even in the pillar. Yeah, the Lord Vishnu is all pervading. He is even in that pillar. And there comes out Lord Narasimhadev and protect his devotees. So, and we are familiar with Dhruva Maharaj's story. Though he was a little bit under duress, that he left his palace and he had material ambition. But he also was instructed by Narada Muni, and he was unrelenting. In 6 months, this child, he came in contact with the personality of Godhead and achieved the, whatever he was, his goal was seeing Lord Vishnu and seeking a remedy for his unhappy situation, being child at home to his father. So then seeing the Lord, he says, whatever I wanted to ask you for a boon, but that all seems like broken glass now. Now that I have come into contact with you, now that I'm in your presence. So Bhagavatam is full of such wonderful stories of devotees, great devotees, that teaches complete detachment from the material pursuit of life. And then if we read King Chitraketu's son speaking, such a detachment, that one passage alone can clear our heart of, the soul is being, just like gold is passed from one hand to the next. This soul moves from one body to the next. So none of our attachments in this life is going to survive the death. So be better be prepared, be better be controlled in our senses, and that is the message of Srimad Bhagavatam's teaching. So Srila Prabhupada says Varnasrama Dharma or Sanatana Dharma is the necessary foundation for one to be able to make spiritual progress gradually. So let us go to such, already time is up. Let's just, please bear with me. Such foolish leaders may have some respect from the people, and that the best thing is therefore that everyone voluntarily give up family relations at least by the age of 50. Srila Prabhupada demonstrated by his life example how he took sannyas at the age of 54 and honoring his spiritual master's instruction. He came to this country without any support at the advanced age of 69 and preached the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna conscious, established the Society of Krishna Consciousness in New York of all places. How he was able to so successfully preach the Bhagavatam philosophy and made 4,000 American disciples in so few years. So that is Srila Prabhupada's example, a living example before us. So one must have a chance for better. It is stated herein that one should give up all desires of family attachment. One must have a chance for better desires. Otherwise, there is no chance of giving up such morbid desires. Desire is the concomitant factor of the living entity. The living entity is eternal, and therefore his desires, which are natural for a living being, are also eternal. One cannot therefore stop desiring, but the subject matter of our desires can be changed. So one must develop the desire for returning home back to Godhead, and automatically the desires for material gain, material honor, and material popularity will diminish in proportion to the development of devotional service. That is puja, pratishtha, labh. These are the three things that motivate us. Our desires are based on. That is, we want material gain, material popularity, and that is a great following, popularity. So, and these are the motivating factors for everybody's actions. So this should be changed for our to get over all the miseries of material existence. by going back home, back to Godhead. Because this place is, after all, Dukhalem Ashashwata. As Krishna has said, there is no prospect of attaining permanent happiness in this material world. So we have to seek it in the by coming into the shelter of the Supreme Lord. But then, beginning from the top executive head of the state down to the insignificant pauper in the street, all are rendering some sort of service to others. The perfection of such a service attitude is only attained simply by transferring the desire of service from matter to spirit, or from Satan to God. Srila Prabhupada ends very nicely. So simply because our body in next body is awarded to us based on our karma and our desires at the time of death. So knowing this, we should desire to serve only the Supreme Lord and his devotees. And serving the material bodily in the bodily sense of term, that is all kind of wasted energy. So we have one couple of verses I had noted down. So Lord is instructing Arjuna, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yuthyacha maya arpita manobuddhir mam evaishyasi asamseha. That is, so, oh Arjuna, please fight, but always remember me, so that because reposing your mind and intelligence in me, that way you will come to me definitely without asamsya, without a doubt. And then our Srila Prabhu was reciting this verse yesterday. Ananya cheda sadatam yo mam smarati nityashaha tasyaham sulabha partha nityayukta anya yogina. So that also, that is Bhakti Yogi always keeps Krishna in the front and then goes about his daily activities. So Nityashaha. I am Sulabha, I am easily obtainable for that yogi. And then in the practice of Bhakti Yoga, Vairagya, detachment is naturally developed. That is Bhagavatam 1:2-7. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janaityashu Vairagyam Jnanam cha yadahaitukam. That is, the causeless knowledge and detachment is part of the bhakti process. So we don't have to specially seek out how to detach ourselves, how to have the knowledge, etc. It all comes when to a devotee. So even mukti is subservient to a pure devotee. So that is the teachings that we are also. Sukadeva Goswami is giving a very solid introduction of Bhakti Yoga to King Parishit, who has only 7 days to live. And we heard from Chatrupa Mataji that how King Khandwanga attained the lotus feet of the Lord, when knowing that he has only a few moments to perfect his life. And so, I mean, even few seconds is enough, and not necessary for years and years sometimes. So it is, the only thing is our intelligence should be there at the lotus feet of the Lord, as shown by the example of Ambarish Maharaj. Savai mana Krishna padara vindayo. That is, the Bhakti Yogi is always his mind is at the lotus feet of the Lord. So he doesn't have to separately endeavor for detachment, to develop detachment from the material. So since we are 5 minutes over, I will stop here. This is a very vast topic indeed. Thank you for your patience, and sorry if I misspoke. Many things I might have not been in the right order. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. If any questions, we can probably take one or two things if you have time.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisance.
Humble obeisance. Mataji, like I'm from Karnataka, and they say like everything is Runanubandha.
What bandha?
Runanubandha.
What does that mean? I don't know.
I mean, Runa means, I don't know how to say in other language. Like debts, maybe. I don't know. Like Runa means debt, Mataji.
Dead? Huh?
Yeah.
Death. Oh, okay.
No, not death. Like credits, debt. Like debt to mother, then
debt. Oh, okay. Okay.
So what about that, Mataji? Do you have anything to say about that? Like if a marriage happens, so they'll say it's Runa Anubandha. So they had the Runa, so that's why they became together. That's the small example I'm giving.
Okay. I guess,
how about that? Yeah, go ahead.
I guess we have one of the Bhagavatam teachings, that is we are born with many kind of debts to the sages, to our parents, to to the so we have so many kinds of debts when we are born. But Bhagavatam, in the super example given, is that of watering the root of the tree, that we have nurtured the branches and the leaves and the flowers, everything. So through Krishna Bhakti, then we are not indebted to that. One of the verses, we are not in debt to any of our relatives, or the king, or the rishis, or any, if we take to Krishna consciousness, because Krishna is the root of all existences. So if Krishna is pleased, satisfied with our service to him, then we are not in debt to anybody else. Is that good?
Yes,
is that good?
Yes. Thank you.
Very welcome, Krishna.
I think thank you so much, Sandhya, Mataji. So such a nice class. Really appreciate that.
Thank you,
and
Hare Krishna.
Just wanted to add a tiny little to that question which Chandramukhi has asked. When you reach that stage of perfection, then you are not, when you are a perfected devotee, you come to natural state of consciousness of, there is the indebtedness to family and friends and all that, that is surpassed by, the love for Krishna. That is a natural state one attains, I guess, when one perfects in devotional life. So for Chandramukhi's question, for an average person, we are going towards that goal. I mean, that is our goal. But in that process of going towards that goal, I don't think it is recommended that we should ignore everything in our life. We need not get stuck thinking about family and friends while we do our duties and responsibilities. There are so many, I have heard in some classes, it is said that there are so many quotes that in various places, various languages, people say, or various parts of the country, in India, there are sayings taken from here and there, and they may say something like that you said in Karnataka. But anyway, the goal is pointed out in Srimad Bhagavatam very clearly, and everyone who has come for practicing devotional life to Krishna, our goal, it is crystal clear in Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are trying our best to hear and implement that in our life. We should progress towards that. But as we are practicing, and you have your duties and responsibilities because you are in a family situation and whatnot, and whatever you call it, Runa Anubandhana or whatever it is, what comes to my mind is the topic called detached care that Maharaj has spoken years ago as in seminars. How do you do the detached care and remain attached to Krishna? But you still have to do that detached care, taking into consideration that everyone in our life is part and parcel of the Supreme. So, the practice of Bhakti Yoga does not make you hard-hearted. Rather, it makes you more soft-hearted, and you genuinely care for people. But your attachment is to Krishna. And that is our path at this stage of practice. And I think that is my understanding, unless Sandhya has read something little different, or anybody else have to say anything.
Thank you, Mathaji. I thought about that word itself. I think it is Rana Anubandha. Rana means that, and that must be in Karnataka, Rana Anubandha. I thought about it. Then I had one interesting example which Premanta Mathaji talked to me once when we were talking about this detachment. Attaining the ultimate detachment. One natural example. I don't know if she may remember, but I remember it very clearly. Just like the coconut, the young mature coconut, it is so hard to get it out of the shell, isn't it? But when if we just let it remain on the tree, and or bring it down a mature one and then sun it, in the end that coconut will become so detached from the shell, and it will be a complete dried out thing we can see in the whole round coconut which we can take out. So in the natural process, detachment happens. That is the example that stick in my mind. That came in my memory when I was preparing for this verse. That's a beautiful example. A mature coconut, it's so hard to get it out of that shell. But that dried coconut, it is so naturally completely free from any attachment to that shell. So that I remember. Thank you.
Yeah, I think is the Chandramukhi's question, I'm assuming, is coming from the place where she's thinking that that we have these. What did she say? The word, the meaning of that word was, what was it?
Runa.
It is a
Runa.
And what was the translation of it into English? It was
debt.
Yeah, debt. Yeah, I was thinking her question was coming from the fact that, we all have a debt to fulfill, and so how can we be detached? And so if that is what the basis of her question is, yes, that's why I'm saying that, yes, whatever it is, I don't know whether that saying, as I said, in various languages, so many sayings are there, but we cannot take that as Veda Vakya. It is not, it may not be coming from the Vedas, it may be a statement coming from some other source. There are so many such quotes that we hear, but in any case, the ultimate goal of life is clearly stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, but that does not have to be done at the cost of, becoming hard-hearted and thinking that I don't need to do anything for anybody in my life. But it's like constantly you have to remind yourself purpose of life, and according to everyone's own pace, within the association of those who are like-minded and hearing from such elevated souls, we have that opportunity, and one should move in the right direction, not get stuck in one spot. And then eventually, like what Sandhya was saying, eventually, we will reach some point. But if we don't even put in an effort, it is never going to happen. At the time of death, one will remain so attached to the fallible soldiers, and it's not going to be very beneficial for anybody. Okay, I think I talked too much.
Thank you, both Matajis.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, Lingaraj Prabhu, we can end the class here. It almost went into.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Pancha kalpatarubhya kripa sindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Srimad Bhagavatam ki